Americans.
Welcome to the show. This is CJ Holmes, founder of Homeowners for Justice, and your host for the Update Friday today. We've got a great show lined up. A lot of people coming on to update us with their various actions and activities. But I'm telling you, there's breaking news every day in this mess, and we can be thankful for it. We need to keep pushing and keep getting this information out to everybody in the country. So to bring you up to speed, earlier this week, yesterday, I'm sorry, I can't even remember, the days just sort of blur into one. This is the GAO report, and I wanted to get this in the record so that the link will be on the comments, and you can actually view the entire report because there's a PDF right here, file for it. And this is the GAO discovery, the General Accounting Office, about the effectiveness or lack of the independent foreclosure review. So I wanted to start with that because this is more detailed information, explanation about what they found. We heard some articles about it yesterday. Here's the report. Now, there's some other things happening. Here's one. Regulators are probing an alleged mortgage insurance kickback scheme. Well, we all knew that. The fact is, every way they possibly can, the banks have cheated. They've cheated all the rules. They've cheated all the government agencies. They've cheated the buyers, the investors, the sellers, everybody. They've now cheated our records. All the recorded documents on our properties are just fraudulent, and they are going to be cheating every property owner. And that's really something that really must get out. This is not just people in foreclosure, not just people with upside down loans. Everybody. So in this particular case, of course, they had to pay some few $1 million. You can read the article, but they reaped billions. So again, this falls into what I call the fraud tax. They're just a few pennies on the dollar down the road. No criminal liability. You know, they never admit any wrongdoing. They just get the company to pay it over while they've personally pocketed. Just more fraud and games everywhere. Now, here's a ruling. I've not even had time to read it. I'm only looking at the headlines. This is what someone sent me this morning. And that the U.S. Bank v. Bressler, in this lawsuit, the U.S. Bank admits that MERS does not have the authority to sign the note, and that there is no evidence of delivery of the note. This is the heart of it. This is the heart. It's all about the assignments, whether you're a deed of trust state or a mortgage state, judicial, non-judicial. It's not material because in every state, in every property, for them to do anything, for anyone to do anything on the property, they have to have the right to do that. And that's about assigning that right to someone. So if that assignment, either the person assigning it doesn't have the authority, like MERS, or whoever they assign it to can't take that authority, like the trustee of a mortgage-backed security, then the assignment is fake. And only until the owners rise up and create such a stink over this that we stop this. They've been doing it. They've already done it on millions and millions of homes. They've already pushed people under the bridge because of this. They've kicked them out of the house. Now we've got tent cities. And the banks, I think the fact we looked at yesterday was right now, 50% of the housing net worth in this country is owned by the banks. More is owned by the banks, well, maybe it's at least 50, it's more, than all of the Americans. So you take your house, my house, all of us people, our houses, and the banks have more net worth than all of us combined. And that's a really scary fact. And we're going to talk a little bit later today about how we can analyze the stats that come out, because I got an article in the newspaper this morning, so I scanned it. I want to talk about it real briefly so that you can understand, start to learn some of the little guides that I use when I'm analyzing statistics. Because if you don't know how to parse the facts, how to pull them apart and say, what's wrong with this? It's really easy to be sucked into the lie. Okay, here's another article that we just got like 5 minutes before the show. Prudential hits Bank of America with a $2 billion racketeering suit. So this is Prudential Insurance. this is the insurance kickback schemes, alleges in a New Jersey federal court lawsuit that B of A and Merrill Lynch engaged in racketeering. Okay, so now we're not just saying criminal action, we're saying a conspiracy to commit criminal actions. That's RICO. Racketeering is part of the scheme to defraud and mislead. And absolutely, this happens to be in mortgage-backed securities. In my opinion, pick a scheme, pick something, pick an insurance scheme. I've said for 18 months that the fact is they cheated all the private mortgage insurance, and that would be the kickback that we talked about earlier, just 2 articles ago. That was the PMI, primary mortgage insurance. P stands for something other than that, I forget off the top of my head, sorry. And the fact is they've ruined those insurance companies. And this was when they paid insurance companies to insure in case they had loss. And so the banks overpaid. And so the insurance companies provided kickbacks. And, the banks made billions of dollars. And now they pay, a few million. Literally, this is the technique and the tactic everywhere. So we already know what the tactic is without even reading the article here. How did they do this? They cheated. They lied to somebody. They got kickbacks. They whatever. And the point is, on all of this fraud, how are we going to stop it? How are we going to keep people in their homes so that not all of us are under the bridge? How are we going to get those under the bridge back in their homes? And then how are we going to protect ourselves against this coming either hyperinflation or default or currency collapse or whatever's going to happen? Because you can't just keep pumping trillions of dollars, which they're doing. And now we're up to 1.2 quadrillion of derivatives. And these are insane numbers, and mathematically they cannot continue. So that is something that we need to, pay attention to. I wanted to talk a little bit about indoctrination. I want to bring you an update. This link was given to me. There's a whole bunch of little episodes. I'm only going to play just a couple short minutes, but it was so striking to me. And once you see it in your head, you're going to be really more sensitive to it. I know I will be. Anytime you hear talking heads say the same thing, and this is about indoctrination, and we are in the midst of massive indoctrination. That's why I want to bring an update to you about, okay, let's recognize we're in indoctrination. Let's figure out how we can parse the facts. Let's help each other do this so that we can stay aware and not get swayed and sucked into the media line. Listen to this.
Our society is all about what is popular. From early on in our lives, we are pressured into doing what's popular and not what's best for you. This is a way a collective gets individuals to sacrifice what is unique and special about themselves, to become the lowest common denominator in a group that really doesn't care about you at all. The most brilliant propagandist technique will yield no success unless one fundamental principle is born in the mind constantly. You must confine itself to a few points and repeat it to them over and over again. Joseph Goebbels. When you look at our news or political debate, it is driven by talking points where they're repeated with such accuracy it's scary.
Talk show host Conan O'Brien may be about to push the envelope on late-night television.
Conan O'Brien may be able to push the envelope on late-night television.
Conan O'Brien may be about to push the envelope on late-night television.
Conan O'Brien may be about to push the envelope on late-night television.
Conan O'Brien may be about to push the envelope on his late-night television.
Conan O'Brien may be about to push the envelope on late-night television.
Conan O'Brien may be about to push the envelope on late-night television.
Conan O'Brien may be about to push the envelope on late-night TV.
Conan O'Brien may be about to push the envelope on late-night television.
Conan O'Brien may be about to push the envelope on late-night television.
Conan O'Brien may be about to push the envelope once again on late-night TV.
Conan O'Brien may be about to push the envelope on late-night television.
Conan O'Brien is looking to push the envelope on late-night television.
Conan O'Brien may be about to push the envelope on late-night TV.
Conan O'Brien may be about to push the envelope on late-night television.
Conan O'Brien may be about to push the envelope on late-night television.
Conan O'Brien may be about to push the envelope.
If this works for late-night TV, what else could this be good for?
No kidding. No kidding. They're all laughing. But, when you see this 10 or 12 or 15 times, I didn't even count. This is really striking to me. They are who is giving them this information, and why are they all saying the same thing? And so we need to pay attention to what is coming out and be more aware that this is indoctrination. And if this is on something that's relatively, who cares? But this is the facts are these. They're all saying the same thing. They're all reading from the same line. And this is why we need to actually start parsing what we hear and read. I wanted to show you the article that I got in the paper this morning, and then I want to show you the keys of analyzing this. Here's the article. It talks about economy showing signs of vitality, and most of the people that read the paper or look at these things will say they'll often either skim the headline here, no full rebound, but indicators are trending up. Okay, so that's a good thing. And then they just look down at these items and often just allow these things to, they make assumptions, and then they have thoughts in their head. So here's the key things, the key pointers I want you to pay attention to. This is what I think of when I'm looking at stats like this. Who says? Who's saying this? What information is missing? I'll never forget years and years and years ago, former lifetime, when I was in computers doing system administration and support. I was a support consultant. Then the whole point is we would have some person would come along and say, oh, we've got this great fabulous system, and they would give this huge presentation, and we'd sit in the back and we'd be real cynical, and we'd say, okay, let them go. And then we'd raise our hand at the end and say, does it work? You know, what information is missing? And of course, as soon as we said something like that, then you'd watch them, see how they tap dance, because usually this stuff didn't work. They were just hyping to see if they could get enough interest, to see if they could actually spend some more money on it and making it work. So what information is missing? Often it's not about what they say. It's about what they don't say, which is very frustrating, because then it means you and I have to be more educated and more aware of what that topic is about to know what they haven't said. Another thing is the brackets of comparison. I'm going to talk about some of these things. We're going to go quickly through those items that they talked about showing signs of vitality. Brackets of comparison, I'm going to bring that up because they are only comparing this. They're not comparing this. False assumptions. They're stating things in such a manner that you and I would make a false assumption. We would assume that this is correct. It's just like we've been talked about repeatedly from a variety of sources, speakers, guests that come on and they say, well, it's all about word manipulation. They're saying this and you're assuming that, but actually they mean this. Or you get into court and that word doesn't mean that. Do you understand? And we think it means comprehend. No, it means, are you willing to stand under? Okay, these are huge false assumptions, and they're manipulating our minds and with propaganda by doing this. They're doing this intentionally, and we have to recognize that. And then there's faulty logic. A equals B, when actually there's no connection whatsoever. It's completely false connection of facts that are meaningless. One does not lead to the other. And that is sometimes difficult to see. When they do that, when they do faulty logic like that, then we're going to make a false assumption. That's pretty typical. So here, let's go back to our little article real quickly. Okay, so household wealth. Let's just take a real quick look at these items. And so they're saying here that Americans lost 16 trillion in wealth. Okay, that's a depressing number. During the recession. Okay, now, number one, during the recession. Well, that's a false assumption. Aren't we still in it? Or now the implication, when you read that, you think, oh, we're out. That's a false assumption. Mainly because home values and stock prices sank. That's what they're saying. That's why we were in a depression. Not the fact that this was a fraudulent action. So there's facts that are missing. The losses have now been reversed. Oh, have they? Have they really? They've made a statement, and it is not true. They just said it. The losses have been reversed. No, they haven't. Have they reversed your losses? Have they reversed my losses? Are you kidding? No. Has my house come back to what it was before the recession? No, not at all. And so now they're saying, and to justify this, so this is a false logic. They're saying, well, losses have been reversed, implying that all of us are now back to normal. The household net worth reached 66 trillion in the final 3 months of 2012, according to the Federal Reserve, just 2% below the peak reached in the fall of '07. Now, they bracketed it. Okay, it's the peak in '07. The fact is, we don't know what was happening before that. They're claiming it's the peak. I don't know. Is that true? We'd have to look. I have no way of knowing. They're giving you facts, and if you buy it, if you swallow it, then it works. They win. And so now net worth, well, net worth for whom? And we already know that they've transferred your wealth and my wealth to the 1%. So maybe averages or total net worth is back because the stock market's at an all-time high. Houses have started to rise, but they're nowhere near the peak. So all the people have lost, even though the total may be back to a high. Doesn't mean you and I have it. It means somebody else has it. But the implication is everything is fine because now that number is the same. Retail sales. You're talking again about retail sales total 421 billion in February, adjusted for inflation, just a little bit below '07. Okay, that may be true, but again, who's buying? And what are they buying? And what other facts might be behind that? You probably know things I don't know. The foreclosures. Home prices have been rising steadily. Oh yeah, but they're not even close. They fell in half, so they climb 10%. Excuse me, there's still a huge gap there, and that's another reason we have short inventory, because even though prices rise, way too many sellers are upside down. We got 2 million loans upside down, houses with, upside down with their loans in California, so they can't sell. They can't sell. They'd have to sell short, and then they'd ruin their credit, and then they couldn't get a loan, and then they'd have to be out in the street. You know the routine. And so here they said, oh, I love this bracket. Foreclosures have sunk back to pre-recession levels. Banks repossessed 45,000 homes in Feb 2013, according to Realty Track, and that's the fewest since September 2007, down from a peak in 102 in March 2012. Okay, now I want you to know that I know this bracket, and that in 2006, the year before the recession, there were nowhere close to 45,000 homes being foreclosed in a month. In the whole year, in the 9 Bay Area counties in 2006, there was 1,695 foreclosures. And in 2007, we're talking the whole year, not a month, the whole year was 23,000. So if you say it went up 10 times from, if you will, 2,000 to 20,000, then that means in '06, there weren't 45,000, there would have been 4,500. So they bracket this information so it looks better, not telling you what a unmitigated disaster we're still in. The stock market. Okay, it closed at an all-time high, but as you already know, they already pumped and dumped, and so they pumped it up, they dumped it. All the people have lost. The only people now that are making money really are the banks and the hedge funds investing. This is a shift of wealth, but they don't talk about that. They just talk about peaks. False assumption, everybody else is doing fine. Not true. America's economy is producing more goods and services than ever, so how do they justify that? By the number. Gross domestic product, 13.7 trillion, surpassing previous peak of 13 trillion in the end of 2007. Now, let's remember that there's inflation in there, and there's no accounting for inflation. So how do we know that that's goods and services? Maybe it's just the cost of the products. So again, they're making false assumptions, false logic. We'll buy into it unless we start doing our critical thinking and analysis. Total jobs. Oh, these are something else. The recession eliminated 8.7 million jobs. Since then, 5.7 million jobs have come back, as if they ran away and now they returned home. So they don't discuss how many of those were private sector, how many of those were public sector. Every public sector job is weighting down the private sector because it depends on the private sector to be paid. And so, or, they run our currency over it. And so they don't have any differentiation about the kinds of jobs that came back. We lost manufacturing jobs, but we got back low-end retail. And so it makes it sound good, even though it's not back. They're not talking about what's not back. What's not back is not just the jobs, it's the total incomes that have been completely devastated and ruined for millions of people. Let's not talk about that. See, what's missing? That's missing in this. The unemployment rate, talk about a figure that is completely manipulated. When a person gets off of unemployment, whether they have a job or not, they're not unemployed anymore. They don't have a job, but they're not counted. So we've got millions, and then there's just guesses of how many millions that is. And I've heard these bizarre numbers from 26 million to 88 million. Pick a number. And the fact is, none of those talk about small business owners. So how many of you are a small business owner like me that have lost tremendous income because we can't do our business anymore? Whether you're in retail, I happen to be in transactions, the values fell, you can't get a loan, you can't get the property sold, there's nothing now to buy. And so millions of agents and brokers and loan officers are out of work. But they weren't employed, they were subcontractors or individual business owners. And so they're not even counted. They're not even counting these people. This is what's missing. This is why we have to think this way. Housing market has been recovering. The housing market has been recovering. These words just drive me crazy because housing, of course, is a specialty. And of course, it says it hasn't reached normal levels. Oh my goodness, it isn't going to, because we already know that many, 30%, 50% in some areas of the purchases right now are from cash. Now, here's a scary fact that I just read yesterday in one of my real estate magazines that come online, and they're talking about the bidding wars in San Jose. We have bidding wars everywhere, but in San Jose in particular, the houses are being bid like at 2 times asking price, and the money is not coming from local people. It's not coming from hedge funds, that we think of. It's coming from China. It's coming from wealthy investors all over the planet, and they are coming in and buying these houses for cash. So like they were saying, the last house that was all fixed up sold for $417,000, and then this fixer-upper sold for $625,000, cash from foreigners. So I know this is going in Florida. I heard this last year, that all the property on the lake and on the channels and waterfront and stuff is it's dirt cheap. It's like they're $100,000, and literally most of them are being sold now to foreigners. These are not the people. This is what has been pushing me to say we're in a renter nation. We're losing our country. We're losing our homestead. We're losing the land we walk on. We're going to be renters, not landowners, as a nation. And this is the scary part. This is why I'm really pushing and having the live stream every day and trying to get people on, because not only do we need to know how bad it is, we need to know what's bad, and then we need to focus on fixing it. And next week, promise, I'm focusing on fixing attorneys and bankers, public banking, and how we can wean ourselves off of the kinds of credit that we've got right now. Let's get into other alternative forms. Let's start to protect ourselves from this coming disaster as best we can. Let's talk about that. So that's going to be on the show next week. And then, of course, industrial output. U.S. factories aren't back to pre-recession outpeak, but they're close. Let me tell you something. The manufacturing is down now to 5% in this country. Most of the factories are decimated. They're just empty hulls with birds nesting in them. And the fact is, the factory output is not going to recover until we start having manufacturing jobs back in the country. So this is just a real quick overview. I just wanted to share it. I felt really that it was very important that you understand that so much of everything we're told, everything we watch, everything that we hear on the news, unless it's straight just facts, who's saying it, What are they not telling me? What's missing in this? And how have they bracketed these stats? That's why I called it Lies, Damn Lies, and Statistics. That's Will Rogers. He said that years ago. Many of you may not even remember. It shows my age. But the fact is, it's so true because you can manipulate people with statistics. And it's very important that we try to keep aware of that. How these assumptions, whenever you read a statement, stop and think, okay, what did I just assume? What did I make an assumption about for that? And does this make sense? Does this lead to that? Is that logical, or is there something faulty in it? All right, so that's what I wanted to talk about. And we've got Jed with us today. I'm going to get him on the line. He's going to update us about suspicious documents. We're going to, for our update guest, we're going to talk about suspicious documents. Renee's coming on to talk about something about a foreclosure. I stuck her on like 2 minutes before the show, so I didn't get her on the sheet, sorry. Mariella's going to talk to us about the activism and the kind of results she's getting over there in North Carolina. And then we've got other foreclosure fighters on the show for you today. So without further ado, let's invite Jed. Hey, Jed, this is CJ.
Hey, CJ, how you doing?
Oh, thanks. We're doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
So tell us what's...
On a road trip today?
Okay, you're in the car on the cell phone, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You all right?
Yeah, it's not too bad. Just try to speak slowly.
Okay.
So tell us about your suspicious documents.
Well, they've just taken the suspicious statement, or a statement of suspicious documents, and just added to it a little bit. I added the holder in due course issues, being that my loan never followed the order of assignment.
Okay.
And service agreement. And so I've added that to it, and then
are you there?
are
Are you on speakerphone?
is that better?
Yeah, that's a little better. Thanks. Okay, so you talked about, you added
Not
the...
get a brain tumor.
No, Jed, we don't want you to get a brain tumor.
Yeah.
We won't keep you on the phone very long.
I might not be alive to enjoy the house.
Don't say that. Okay, so you added the holder in due course, and then what have you done with these documents so far?
And I've simplified someone looking at them. When we first designed them, giving them to attorneys and people that we kind of assumed would be able to kind of weed through what we're giving them, and then refer to the parts in the documents.
Right.
And be able to basically decipher what violations are. And as I've looked at it and handed it to friends, people that I know in the press or whatever, I wanted to just kind of lay it out a little bit easier for them. So,
oh, good.
The section of the statement of where there's issues, I also refer them to the actual
code,
so court cases or the statutes
okay.
that you have put together.
Perfect.
And then I took the actual issues. I wrote on the copies of my documents. I pointed to the recording numbers and said they've assigned away their interest in document 301, and then they've substituted it to someone else in 302. That's illegal. The servicer cannot be an assignee or beneficiary, and so I wrote every issue down on the document. So any reporter, anybody can just look at my documents and see the issues on the face of them, and not have to really work through the statement of suspicious documents.
Oh, that's excellent. Maybe you already have. If you've already sent me that update, I'll look for it. And over the weekend, I'm going to try then to simplify or revamp the presentation that's on the website so people can, plug in their information on something that makes really better sense or connects the dots. I think that's what I hear you saying. You're connecting the dots on that document.
Just trying to spoon feed them, really.
Yes. Yes. That's excellent.
So I did that, and then I wrote an intro letter that kind of explains the overall issue and the crisis of, how many people have these issues and how it's clouding the title, for future real estate ownership. And then I actually wrote a cover letter that's just a little one-page thing just saying, look, this is a big issue. You really should look at my documents because they highlight a lot of stuff. And I made a couple of different versions, one or three. I made one for the TV media, one for newspaper media, and one for the government representatives.
I'm so proud of you, Jed. I'm so proud of you. Can we clone that, those documents?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, because truly.
But I can resend them.
Oh, I'll check, and if I need them, I'll let you know. The fact is, as I've said, I'm getting overwhelmed. Go ahead.
If you put my documents on the website, because I got the idea looking through, watching the workshops.
Good.
And I'm kind of walking some friends through trying to analyze their documents, and having the documents with the issues actually pointed to and then notated.
Yes.
Could really help people look at their documents and know
yes.
where to go.
Oh, that's so fabulous. Thank you, Jed, because see, we're drafting. These are drafts. This was the best we could do at the time. And then, he's now had experience helping others. Now, get what he's doing? He's helping others look at their documents. This is crucial. And the simpler we make it and the more understandable we make it, the better. And I just really appreciate everyone stepping up and helping like this.
Yeah, it's a big collaborative effort. And,
exactly.
More heads is better than one.
Absolutely, because everyone has just such a limited time.
So I've sent out these documents. It's 35 pages, and I've included, sample signatures of the robo-signers and stuff like that.
Yes.
And so I've sent them out to to representatives and different media sources, the New York Times, LA Times, San Francisco Chronicle, all the pertinent NPR shows that I think would be interested, Democracy Now! And but then I also went online and found, I think it's called Email Big Files or Email Large Files.com or .net.
Yes,
and
yes.
You can upload, because it's like a 35 megabyte file, which I can't email through Gmail.
Right.
So you upload it there, and then I can send people an email with a link to it. So I've done 60 Minutes and the Diane Sawyer Show, Nightline 2020, anything I can think of, and any other suggestions. I go around, find out how to get hold of them, and send it off, and I send you I just update my page so that you can have all that information to put on your site.
Oh, thanks, Jed. Now, did you include the emails of these various places, the media that you sent them to?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I apologize. I've been too busy to really pay attention. So this weekend,
no, I know.
I will take.
You can send it again if you don't have it.
No, I remember that you sent me that big file thing, and so I will put. Yeah. I'm going to put that information on the website too, so that people can use that to send theirs. And if we all use that and send it to these same email locations, and they start getting dozens of these, and the information is different, but they're coming. It's the same fraud and fake documents. We might get the impact that we need. That's what we've been wanting, is to really bring this to the media attention and not let it go under, get swept under the rug. Thanks, Jed. Oh wow.
Also, since my first OCC complaint, which stopped the foreclosure, basically I had said, they didn't follow, that didn't have a single entry point with the company, and I had possible forgeries and stuff, and it's been since then that all the different crazy assignments and the holder in due course is in question, all kinds of stuff. So I refiled another OCC complaint. I mean, this one's obviously a lot more serious than the first one, because I just don't know how the banks are actually going to be able to correct it. They didn't transfer it into the trust via the right channels, and and it took them 6 years longer than the trust cutoff date.
Yep.
So I don't know
Well, good for you.
I've also gotten the journal entries or the journal entry of one of the robo-signers. So I filed with the DMV to get her original signature, and I'm partway through one of my other robo-signers getting that journal entry also.
Have you gotten anything back from the DMV yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's been about 10 days.
Okay. All right.
So.
All right. Keep us posted on that.
Yeah.
The
so I'm just plugging away, and I also to Agnes with Occupy Mendocino, who has forwarded it on, and also sent me back resent a new flush of the same documents, more spelled out than before, to our county DA and sheriff and the reporter and the board supervisor. So, if they kind of glazed over the first time I sent them,
I know.
It was a little bit easier for them to look at it and go, dang, there's like 18 violations here.
Exactly. And that's what, basically they violated everything. And we're documenting that this is the case. And as more people can copy the program, the input, and just put in their documents and their property address, basically, and identify the violations like we've laid out, and like Jed has helped us on a new draft, simplify and make it really straight so that no one has to figure it out. They can just read the document and see. That's wonderful. I thank you so much, Jed, for all your effort and work on that, because it is a lot of work. We have to admit, this is a lot of work.
One foot in front of the other. It took me about 2.5 weeks to actually really get the whole packet and all the letters written right, and so it all made sense, and it wasn't cross-referencing something that wasn't there.
Right.
But I was listening to your show, I think 2 days ago, about filing a police report, and
yes,
you and I sat with our sheriff, and he said that he wasn't going to look at the documents, and he said he would. But I don't recall what he had said about filing a report with him, and with the new information that we can't really do any type of complaint until we have a police report. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are I want to focus on that. I've already asked a couple of people about, helping us do that. And from what I'm hearing, you get different feedback. Like Linda told me, she responded immediately on that day. That was, you're right, I think 2 days ago, and said that she had tried to file a police report years ago, and they just got rebuffed. They're not going to pay any attention. And then she found 14 others, I think, that were in lawsuits, because Florida is a judicial state, so she could look through the lawsuit records and find others that were, in court on foreclosure, and went back and said, if I bring all 14, would you file a police report for each of us? Well, that made they were more inclined to work with her with volume, with a number of complaints. In other words, they're going to blow one person off, but if you have a whole bunch, they might not. And Jack gave me that same feedback. He'd filed a police report years ago. He's down in Southern Cal, and he has a report, he has the number, and they just did nothing with it. And my inquiry to both those parties are, basically, if we had more people doing this, would they cooperate better with us? And the answer is yes, they would. So I do believe that's next, and I really want to focus on that next week. Get people in. How can we file the reports? How do we fill out the blanks? What are we complaining about? What works? And then how does that process go? If we get rebuffed, what can we do to, push through? Yeah. Always something, but we keep pushing. Thanks, Jed.
The next thing for me is the IRS whistleblower, and I'm going to research some sort of SEC complaint also.
Okay. Yes, you talked about that.
Yeah.
So now that you've got this major effort out of the way, you can share with us how to do these next things when you figure them out.
Yeah, and then I've also, all these issues I've also raised as in another qualified written request to B2A, the servicer, which is not the servicer my pooling agreement says it should be.
Right.
And also to the entrust, saying, how do you own this right now if the person that assigned it to you or the company that assigned it to you actually didn't legally have the right to do that? And so I've written all that in my OCC complaint, as well as qualified written request to all of the companies and I've just been getting all the signed receipts back. So they have received them, and I'll wait to see what they have to say.
Well, and let's not forget, and I have it back up on the screen right now to remind everybody, if there is definitely U.S. Bank is admitting that MERS does not have the authority to sign the note, because I think, Jed, one of your assignments was MERS. I think so.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. So now let's, in our OCC complaints and in our documents, say, according to, we need to put this ruling in that U.S. Bank is admitting that MERS does not have the authority to assign the note. See, that was one of the things that MERS, I said may not, because the issue is maybe they did have authority based on corporate to corporate agency docs, or, stuff that they manufacture after the fact to say that they had the authority, basically. And now if we got a court admission that MERS does not have the authority to sign the note, see, they have, according to our deeds of trust and mortgages, MERS can assign those, but that's a nullity anyway, because the security instrument is meaningless without the note. And every assignment, I swear, across the country, you look at yours. It doesn't matter where in the country you are. If you take your assignment, go down to the recorder's office, look up the assignment, and it says for value received, number one, MERS can't receive value. They have assigned this deed of trust or mortgage and the interest in the notes and the payments and interest in that note to somebody else. And MERS cannot do that. They don't have any authority over the notes. So the whole smoke and mirrors house of cards thing is just collapsing. It's slow, but we're chipping away at it. And these are the building blocks of this is the foundation, the building blocks of fraud, where MERS, they've been using MERS to do all this stuff. Now they're admitting they don't have the authority. What that means is they've right now admitted in this lawsuit that every MERS assignment ever, that means if you lost your home 5 years ago, it doesn't matter. If it was a MERS assignment, it's illegal. It was that they never had the authority. This breaks open the box for everybody that lost their home. Pay attention and get this out on the blogs and get this out on Facebook and get this going viral, because this is the point. MERS has been used to steal these homes. We've been saying it. Now they've got a court ruling on it, and a U.S. bank admits it. So let's bring this house of cards down. Let's get our houses back. Let's keep our houses. Let's at least do that.
I'd like to definitely add that to the statement of suspicious documents.
Absolutely. And this link is going to go in the comment section. I'm quite sure that, I'm raising up the activists to give more information. Any ruling anywhere that says that MERS does not have the authority to assign the note, particularly if it's not in a bankruptcy court, because bankruptcy court is different from federal court. And a lot of times the federal courts just go, it doesn't matter. The state courts don't care. But the fact is, we can still cite these rulings. So that's one of my other efforts over the weekend, is to update legal action by state and get this into the court record, because the more times we can quote this to the media, because the media doesn't care. They're going to say it's a judgment, it's a ruling, it's an admission. And as far as the media is concerned, they're not looking at which court, which state, So, and that's fine for us right now. We need this political push to prove to the country that the whole thing is just a system of cards. It's just a house of cards, and it needs to come down.
Right. Now, I sent my docs to Elizabeth Warren, even though she's not the representative, because they're so telling.
Good for you, Jen. Good for you. My thumb is up. Yes.
Yeah, well, it's fun. Shit pulling, being part of this, pulling the layers back and getting to the core of what's going on, and seeing the 60 Minutes show and the, I can't think of her name, but the show where, she just showed, you showed it earlier on the week.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just seeing the media coverage starting to happen.
Exactly.
That people are becoming aware.
We're trying. We're pushing, and we just need to keep connecting. Thanks, Jed.
Great job.
Thank you. Great job back. Right back at you. Thanks. Let's go to Renee. She's on the next line. Thanks, Jed. Talk to you later.
All righty.
Okay, bye. Hey, Renee. This is CJ. You're on the air.
Good morning, CJ. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, tell us what's happening.
Well, since it's Update Friday, you know, we're all going through so much effort getting news out and showing what is and what isn't and what they can do and can't do, and these third-party debt collectors. And as I was sitting this morning helping another homeowner just back and forth on email, I got a phone call, and I answered the phone, and it was a gentleman named Rich who I mistakenly thought was a friend of mine, and I started, "Oh, how you doing? Good to hear from you." And then all of a sudden he says, "No, I don't think you." And it turned out to be a different Rich, and I said, "Well, who are you?" And he said, "Well, I'm calling from RCS Recovery. You owe us money."
Oh.
And I said, "Excuse me? What? Who are you? I don't know who you are." I said, "I'm sure you have the wrong number. I don't owe you any money." And he said, "Oh, no, you didn't pay your debt. You didn't pay your mortgage. We bought your debt." And I said, "What debt?" He said, "For my home in San Diego." And I said, "You couldn't have bought a debt. I didn't know it. It's a non-recourse." And he says, and he got rude with me, and then I was laughing because I saw Ron on there about keeping the temper. And today I went way off of polite. I said, "No." I said, "I don't owe you anything. I want you to cease and desist. This is not happening. I have nothing from you. I do not know who you are. Explain who you are." And it got ugly because, as you know, with debt collectors, it can. And I got an address. I said, "Who's your boss?" Got his boss, the name of the lady who he said was his boss, but she's just another cohort in crime. And they were out of Boca Raton, Florida. So I Googled the company, and turns out to be the address goes to a law firm. And so in Googling the law firm, I got another phone number, and I called, and the girl that answered was basically an intake because they have 3 offices in, let me see, the name of the, it was RCS Recovery, but the attorneys are Bailey, Merrick, and Udell Law Firm in Boca Raton. And the girl answered, and I said I needed an email address. And she says, "Well, what is this about?" RCS, yes, RCS Hut. And I said, "Well, I need to send an email because I've had a phone call this morning, and I need to send some proof that there's some misconceptions here." She ended up coming back, giving me an email, and I put the email together, and not only did I put the email together to this woman at their law firm, but I also sent it to the SEC, the CFPB, the OCC, sent an FOIPA to everybody, and basically told them, and I CC'd you on the email, so
yes.
You got it. But I basically told them, look, in California, and I sent the California, you know, I'm in California. That was
Right.
the primary residence purchase money.
Right.
And on top of that, CJ, the debt the house was sold over 2 years ago, and it hadn't had a payment in way past the statute of limitations, plus I had a bankruptcy.
So what I hear, Renee, this is what I'm hearing from you, is that no matter what, probably everyone can expect at some point in time, somebody's going to come after them to try to collect uncollectible debt, that simply because the banks, you know this, the banks are now cheating the debt collectors. They're selling debt they know is uncollectible. And so then these people just basically do what debt collectors do, and that is they hound you until you pay. And if you don't pay, oh well. And so
and the rudeness, and that's what I told him. I said, look, I don't owe you an explanation. I don't need to give you a discussion about what I do and don't have to do, except to tell you I don't owe your company a dime.
Yep.
You have not got a valid debt. This was not even a valid fraud closure.
Right.
And it was, I said, unacceptable, I'm done. And it took me 5 times to get him to quit talking at me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these people are, that they're just the pit bulls of the universe on debt collectors. They just hound and do lots of illegal actions and behaviors For those of you that need a letter to tell these people to stop harassing so that you can actually document that you sent them the letter, and I would send it signed receipt requested.
Oh, I don't even mess with all that. I
know.
Emails, if you go into a court of law, emails, if they respond and everything else, you can use that.
Yeah.
And I'm just beside myself with so much going on. With the 4 properties I had in San Diego alone, I have everyone from Upland, Fremont, GMAC, the worst scumbags on the earth.
Right.
Even more, IndyMac, One West Bank, the list goes on. And this was a primary purchase money.
Right.
In California, we know they can't come after you for deficiency on that.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
was years ago.
Yeah,
so what
exactly.
happened was I know they bought something they didn't have a right to. And I'm frustrated for everyone out there because we're telling people, even on-time borrowers don't understand, those deeds of trust are out there floating around being sold.
Exactly.
And different entities are claiming ownership, whether you're on time or not. As James McGuire, as Joe Escobar, as Travis Middleton, as Yusuf El, as all of them have told us over and over again, these are 2 different avenues they have to come at us that are neither one legal.
Exactly.
And so the problem is we have people out there not listening. They're hearing us, but they're not listening.
Well, let me tell you this.
Yeah.
Renee, their ears will open up and they hopefully will remember some of these things when they get attacked, because the attacks are coming. It's like a locust of, it's going to be just an attack, and this is what's happening. So now, in the middle of everything else, now you're attacked from the side by somebody else who obviously bought something that never should have been sold in the first place, and they're going to just hound you and try to get some money out of you to go away. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's an extortion game. And it's just additional stress and pressure. I'm so sorry that you had to do that, but I'm really glad you shared it, because what this is doing is telling every one of us, get ready. And when it happens, don't get thrown, but understand how to fight back. And so, Renee, tell me again, where did you send your complaints?
To the OCC, the SEC. I sent it to the FOIPA. I sent it to the Ombudsman at the CFPB. I sent it to the Oversight Committee for the National Homeowners Settlement. I sent it, and I'm going to be sending it further, but many of the sites, like for our AG and that, you have to copy and paste.
Right.
I didn't quite have time to do that yet this morning, but I'm going to do that.
Right.
And I know Ron on here said that anybody can send you a debt, and if you don't respond within 30 days, of receiving that in the mail, you have to send it certified. Well, I didn't even get anything in the mail. I've seen nothing.
Right.
So when I get this phone call giving me a debt, and I've emailed now every agency as soon as I've had this phone call, I owe them nothing. I owe them zero. I've made it apparent. I sent it to the attorneys who own the firm. I will, when I see my mail, we all get so much junk mail, I'm going to go through it.
Yeah.
But bottom line is, you have to be able to show that you've delivered a debt to someone and they've also seen it. And I didn't see anything prior to this morning. So they can say they sent stuff all they want, but if you don't see it and you don't have it, the date that you find it and make a note of it, I believe, is very important.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm really sorry for this extra stress. That's all you need right now. And keep us updated. I'd like to know, in particular, everyone wants to know, is this enough? Did you do enough to get them off your back? Or are they going to come back and try to bite you again?
All of us who are on these shows and working together as advocates, we see our reality of truth. We know what we see, what we know is fraud, what we know we can prove, what we know we've seen in notary complaints. We are living in a whole other dimension than the fraudsters.
That's true.
Fraudsters are living in the Obama and administration matrix, getting the propaganda out there that they want heard. We have the problem that we understand and see, but the courts are ignoring it. And there's a lot of people out there who don't see it because they are not intimately involved with this yet. And I do mean yet, capital Y-E-T. because this is something that is affecting every homeowner in this nation, regardless if you're paying a credit card debt, or you're paying a car payment, or you're paying a hospital bill, or you're paying off a bicycle. The securitization mess they have our country in is getting worse.
Yeah.
Student loans, they are all being sold off so much right now, and this is just the beginning. This is the tip of the iceberg that we're experiencing. Homes were stolen, yes. So what's going to happen now is, as you look at debt collectors and debt collection tactics, they all are the same as they were 40 years ago. They're still mean. They're still sitting with their feet up on a desk, smoking a cigar, cussing at you, complaining. And it's the same tactics. Their tactics have not changed.
Yeah.
So that is huge and telling.
Yeah.
Very huge and telling. So I believe that we are on a long road here, but the good news is, as far as we are concerned, we are getting the proof. We have what came out from MERS. We had prudential suing. But remember, we know this is happening. It's been happening for years that these lawsuits have been going on. Homeowners have been left out of the party. Well, folks, we are the party. And the only way that we can come to the party is if we take ourselves there. And with that, I don't know if you saw this morning, but there was an article on Spain, and that the activists are now going to the front of the banks and going over. They're going to the front door of the representatives' homes. They're standing with tickets outside of the representatives' homes now in numbers. I believe and firmly believe that that is going to be part of what we need to start doing. It's not just enough to go to these banks. It's because they don't give a crap. We need to do both.
Right.
In front of the representatives, that's going to make a huge difference. Can you imagine Kamala Harris, if every time she comes out her front door, there's 50 advocates out there with signs going, help us, help us, help us?
And that's the seat of power for the people, so to speak, because we don't elect bank CEOs, but we do elect representatives, and we need to hold them accountable. That is the point. And I do believe that is it should also be done. The fact is, it's a cartel. We already know it's a cartel. And whatever we can do, boots on the ground, but also boots in the court, and waking up the homeowners and getting those that are not facing foreclosure yet to understand that their documents and their properties are being played with just as fraudulently as those facing foreclosure. The fact is, do you remember, Renee, I think it was last week, I was talking about the patents, and I showed the patents, and the one, it just struck me so much. I still remember, it's a patent for the applications. And on a loan application, in this patent, they actually talked about whether the denied application would be securitized or not. And so they are.
If they have a patent for that, the denied applications. That's the thing people don't understand too. Is your denied applications were securitized? They were sent out. They're out there. Anything you have applied for and put your signature on is a contract.
It's
Those
so
contracts
bizarre.
are securitized.
It's so bizarre.
I know many of the other gentlemen and advocates out there have spoken on this. There's patents for unbelievable things. But the fact is, anything you sign creates a contract. I don't care whether you're signing for your cable, whether you're signing for a delivery. When you put your signature on that, it becomes a contract. These people can sell anything.
Right. And we know they just lie to whoever buys it, so they can say whatever they want about it. And it's just still mind-boggling. My mouth just hangs open. How do you deal with the fact that they are securitizing denied loan applications? That is the point.
That's even better. Now I'm getting things in the mail, in my email for the new mortgages that are coming back. Subprime is back in rare form.
I've seen stated income. It's come into my email box.
Stated income.
Oh my goodness.
It's all coming back again. It's
of course.
Crazy that this is being allowed when we're in a place where our country, we need to say anything securitized in a mortgage was fake. We do not owe anything. You go back to zero. Your
Exactly.
title and grant deed are in your name. You have clear title to you going forward with nothing owed. These banksters have made their money up to 30, 40, 50 times and 100 times over.
Exactly.
So you know what that would do to our economy? I don't care what they believe. Can you imagine if every single homeowner in this nation, everyone, not just those in foreclosure, not those facing anything, not those in default, but every single homeowner with anything securitized or merged on their notes should be taken to a zero balance due.
Yeah.
Do you know what that would do to our economy right now? Because you have 100% loan to value available to you. If you want to go out now and get a securitized loan, that's on you, baby. But guess what?
Right.
Our whole economy,
right.
the diameter of our economy would grow.
Oh, I understand. I understand, Renee. I really do. You know that.
I know we're all in agreement, but I don't believe anybody owes anything. I'm done with that. I've had enough arguments where people have blamed the homeowner, and then when I sent them James' work or Neil Garfield's work, it's all of a sudden they start saying, "Oh," and I said, "Yeah, who are you paying? Let's look at your documents."
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, I'm sending my payment here. Where's that address going? Well,
I know.
It's not going to the person you thought you were paying, is it?
Renee, I'm already recommending when people contact me and they are not in default, they are making loan payments and they have some questions because they'll call the servicer and end up in the Philippines, with somebody over there. And then they call me and say, what's going on? And I said, okay, really, right now, you need to send a qualified written request. You need to find out who is your servicer. And the whole concept of, which is true, the whole system is completely broken down. It is completely filled with false assumptions. All the judges and the homeowners in general.
But the simple thing is, I don't care how and what this Federal Reserve, whoever's listening out there that thinks you're laughing at us, thinking you're going to steal our home, this is a very simple fix. Jail their asses, give us our homes back. That's it. Fixed. Done. Our economy is back at 100%. Our culture can pay for their own damn insurances and everything else. We don't need Obamacare. We don't need anything else. They have strapped us to being needy of them when they need to be needy of us, keeping their asses out of jail, because that's where they all belong. And we all know it. They all know it. So, okay, let's have a meeting of the minds and say, we all know you belong in jail, but we'll tell you what, instead we'll send you to Iran and let them, just hang you, for good's sake.
And Renee, we're working on it. We just need 1 million homeowners. Come on, let's get the homeowners, because truly, when the people really start to see the truth and the fog is removed from their eyes, we will have the power that we need, the political power. Thank you so much for talking and sharing with us today. I appreciate it. Okay, let's move on. Mary, this is CJ. You're on the air.
Hey, CJ, how are you?
Fine. So tell us what's going on in North Carolina.
Well, we have had a fantastic week in North Carolina. There's a lot to talk about. I'll try to condense it as much as I can. But we had the hearing on Tuesday as planned, and our North Carolina Justice Attorney did show up and take one of her cases. And so the hearing was postponed because she didn't have a chance to let the other side know she was coming, which was okay too. So, but as we were walking up to the courthouse, I told my friend who was at the hearing, I said, look, it would not surprise me a bit if our clerk had a sheriff there to keep me in line. And sure enough, we were sitting there waiting for the attorney to get there, and in walks Sheriff Upchurch. And he was there specifically to keep me in line. So I took that as a huge victory. But, to make a long story short, our clerk of court knows now we mean business.
Okay, so you've been fighting the clerk of the court, who's actually been not allowing you to have the information, right? And sick the sheriff on you last time you were there.
Yes.
Demanding this information.
Now she knows we're serious. Now she knows we've got the attention of the justice system, the North Carolina Justice System, which is a nonprofit. We've got one of our cases going before them. They will handle it pro bono, so we don't have a responsibility of having to pay for something which most people can't afford to pay for.
Right. Now tell us a little bit about the Foreclosure Fraud Task Force. What is that?
Of the week. And then, so yesterday, there was a lot more to that, but that was the gist of it. So yesterday we met with our senator, and we met with our representative, and I wanted to go to our senator and get an update on all the information I'd given him back in January. And lo and behold, who was there but our Justice Center attorney and her boss sitting in on our meeting, because the senator invited him to come in to get his input on everything that he was going to propose. So he came up with a solution I think is fantastic, and I won't give you the details because I don't want to spill the beans yet, but it puts the homeowner back in the position, takes them out of the box of not being able to move forward with an appeal because we can't afford it. We think we've got a solution where we can put the burden back on the banks to make their cost of doing business in these foreclosure fraud cases on their dime. So, the idea is to make them pay for the homeowner's defense if they bring in fraudulent documents.
Oh, wow. Now, so if the homeowner goes to the recorder's office and gets the documents and discovers that they're fraudulent, like we've talked about, they can then go in and have them reviewed or looked at by somebody, evidently, who will then say any kind of fight back on the part of the homeowner would have to be borne by the bank?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, what more could you ask for? And,
oh, my goodness.
Can fight that? Here we're going to put, attorneys are hurting for income, too.
Exactly.
So they're not going to take cases that we can't afford because they can't afford to do it.
Right.
So now the attorneys are going to fight this. They're going to think, oh, man, this is a gravy train. Let's jump on this one, So that's what we're hoping is going to happen. And just move forward with that kind of scenario. And he thinks from a standpoint of politically being able to make it happen, he thinks that's our best shot. Because he had their review staff, their research staff, look at everything we gave to them, and this is what they came up with.
And who was he again? Who are you speaking about?
Person.
Pardon?
The senator.
Oh.
Yes,
Okay.
The senator's research staff came up with the idea of what we can move forward with. So, in our minds, it's a fantastic plan.
And this is a state senator?
Yes. So this will put North Carolina on the map, put the senator on the map if he pulls it off. And the point is, if you're gonna tell this attorney over here that you can make money by defending this homeowner because we're going to make the bank pay your attorney fees,
absolutely.
Up on that.
Absolutely.
They'll be advertised on TV.
Absolutely. Not only that, North Carolina is not the only. Well, this is not law. This is a proposal, right?
Right. Oh no, it's just not even on the drawing board yet. It's just a suggestion of a piece of legislation we can put forward in addition to what's already there to make the banks take responsibility. See, right now they can come into court, foreclose on you, and they know you can't fight back.
Right.
So once in a while somebody does fight back and they have to pay, but the cost is small.
Exactly.
When you consider the overall number of homes they've stolen.
Right.
The cost of doing business is practically nothing in this situation for them. So the idea is to make them pay.
Right.
The cost of business is a lot more expensive for them.
Okay, so if a senator now is considering this and they were to sponsor a bill for that,
right.
How long would it take before it gets into?
I don't know. That's the question. I know it has to. You have to have your sponsors, which I don't think you'll have any trouble getting, for both sides of the aisle. You have to go to committee and you have to draft. Of course, have a draft to go to committee and try to get it out of committee and then discussions on it. So you're talking still months down the road.
Right.
But in the meantime, it gives us enough credibility.
Right.
To go talk to other groups. Hopefully, just eventually get to the governor and say, "Here's our problem, Governor McCrory. We need a moratorium now. We can't wait any longer. They're still in our houses, and here's the proof. And here's the Justice Center coming in and saying the same thing we're saying, which gives us a ton of credibility." What was amazing, because one of our task force members and I were the only two that went, and this man from the Justice Center sat there, filled in questions from our senator, and it was just like being in my own little world, because he was saying everything I needed him to say. He understands the note completely. He understands what they're doing as far as the fraud, making up documents because that's the only way they can foreclose. Right. I mean, he totally gets it. And to hear that coming from him, going directly to the senator, was just more than we could ask for.
Heartwarming that somebody maybe gets it and somebody may be listening.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is the point. We feel like we're screaming in a black hole most of the time.
Well, I feel like I'm living a charmed life right now to some degree, and I'm not taking credit for that. Don't get me wrong, but it just seems like doors are opening that we never would would have gotten the chance at before. And as a matter of fact, let me tell you one more part of this. When we met with our representative first, and we were talking about the problems we had with the AOC, telling them that MERS was okay, and this was from a memo dated back in '07. Remember, I told you that last week.
Yeah.
Well, as we were finishing up, she says, by the way, right across the hall is the North Carolina Legislative Liaison to the AOC's office. So we went over there and chewed her ear for 30 minutes.
That's great.
And got the message across to her. We've been emailing back and forth this morning, but I was explaining to her what our situation was and the rebuff I had gotten from two of the people in her office. And so she made a whole page of notes. She says, I'll take this back and make sure it gets to the right people. And I said, that's great. And I'm going to work on my letter to them, giving them the updated information on MERS. And that thing you posted this morning on U.S. National Bank, that's perfect.
Yes.
So, the doors are open. We just got to keep pushing.
Exactly.
And I wrote back to the Senator this morning and thanked him so much for what he was doing and made it plain to him that we wanted to stay involved in this whole process, start to finish, because we wanted some other things in there to make sure that they get in this bill that we can approve and support. So we're also talking about making sure the AOC knows to tell their clerks they got to follow the law and not follow the AOC directives, because the AOC is not the law.
Oh my good. And see, this is so true in so many facets of our life. The administrative process takes over, and it may be tangential to the law, which is over here, but it's so ubiquitous.
The AOC telling the clerks, the judges, everybody.
Yeah.
This is what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Well, that doesn't mean they're telling them to follow the law.
Right. It doesn't mean that that's legal or that's correct. Exactly. I just remember so many times that same concept. The way it's done is how everyone is inundated. They're just in the way it's done. They're doing it the way they've been told, and yet that is not legal.
Right. And here's the picture we painted for Senator Barefoot yesterday. Picture this. The homeowner is in a box they cannot get out of. First off, you've got the court system who's knocking them down every chance they get because they're not following the law and determining that the bank bringing the action is actually the holder of the note. We can't fight that when the clerk goes straight to a default and skips number one.
Exactly.
And so a homeowner in foreclosure can't pay $30,000, $40,000 to hire an attorney. I said, we don't have any way out.
Is that what it's costing to hire an attorney?
Well, that's what a lot of people have been quoted.
Oh, my goodness.
Way through the courts.
So justice is for the rich again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, my goodness. Now, I just know that in our legislative process in this state, there's typically a cutoff as when you can submit a new bill, and then there's, assuming that it just goes through and it has the committee and then a vote, there has to be a certain majority vote to enact it immediately. Otherwise, it takes place the following year. So,
or the following session.
Yeah.
And we're probably pretty close to that now.
Yeah.
So I don't know how quickly it can happen.
So
but,
it sounds to me like definitely the organization, the foreclosure fraud, whomever, all the activists need to get all of the senators and representatives on board so that you get a majority. You're going to get a majority vote as soon as you can, because then it would.
What we're going to try to do now, we're going to keep this front and center. We're still going after our clerk and trying to get her removed from office.
Yeah.
And our representative is a Democrat, so she has her Democratic caucus that I want to get in front of.
Good. Oh, Mariella, good for you. And I know you're doing it for your wonderful kids. And we're looking at the picture.
We got to keep the pressure going. And I was just listening to what Renee was saying, and I'm thinking double jeopardy, because that's exactly what's happening to those homeowners that are getting hit by a collection agency now.
Well, and
IRS.
IRS.
There's double jeopardy in the courts, but that's all I could think of.
And IRS.
So
the IRS wants to collect taxes on the phantom gain.
I know.
And so if you sell short, let's say you're $200,000 short, well, then that's phantom gain on your taxes. So you're supposed to pay income taxes on that.
Well, that's why you got to file bankruptcy.
Oh, my goodness. The whole thing is just so incredibly upside down. I can hardly believe it.
Everything that you're doing, that I'm doing, that Renee and all these other people are doing, we just got to keep doing a lot more of it. We've got to get in their faces. We got to be out in front of them and let them know we're here. And whatever Judge Barefoot does or Representative does, that's okay. But we're going to be doing a lot more out here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
We can't wait for the wheels of justice to turn because we've got to get the message out, get us in front of as many people as we can.
Yeah.
And I'm going to push our representative to get in front of their caucus and their churches and their people.
Exactly. We need to push the wheels of justice.
Oh, we do.
We need to push this car that's stalled on the side of the road. I feel like we're pushing a stalled car.
It's amazing.
It is, but gradually we're gaining momentum, and it's gradual, but we just keep that pressure on.
Real downers. This one was tumultuous, and what we got done was just unbelievable. And I'm floating on air that everything is just falling into place the way it is. But when you stop and think, we've been working at this for a long time now.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
time.
I'll never forget. I mean, this is just a thing I say a lot because Tina Turner made a comment. She's a singer, for those of you that might not know.
I'm old enough to remember Tina.
Again, I'm saying my age. The fact is, she said it only took me 10 years to be an overnight success.
Right.
And it's going to take us years. It's taken us years.
Anyway, we're very, very excited right now about the accomplishments that we're making. And the best part, the guy that I took with me yesterday is in foreclosure. His bankruptcy comes to an end next week, and he's got his hearing where they'll probably start lifting the stay. And even though we had presented his case to the Justice Center, it hasn't been reviewed. And Ripley, who was there from the center, listened to what Norm had to say. So we're going to look at your case because he thinks it's a good one. I'm sure he didn't say that, but I'm sure he thinks it's a good one. So this may have saved Norman too. So
here's
hoping. It's just getting in front of the right people and pushing and pushing and pushing.
Exactly.
But I can't tell you how excited I was to sit there and hear Jim Ripley say everything I needed to say and wanted to say, but coming from him, it carried so much more weight.
Exactly.
And I don't care who it is. I will gladly sit back and let them say it, let them take the credit. Just let them talk.
Just say the right things and get them said.
Say what you got to say.
Absolutely.
Barefoot was eating it up.
Thank you, Mary. We just are so pleased that you're willing to share with us and that you've been pushing and getting some success. That should give us hope. Everybody listening to Mary should understand that she's been pushing and she's getting some results.
And I'm probably, having to share that hearing that day, that was, I didn't tell you that part. Let me tell you one other thing and I'll let you know.
Okay.
All right, so after the hearing was over, Deputy Upchurch comes up to me right in front of the clerk, assistant clerk, and he says, "We will get with you next week on the things you and your task force are going to talk about."
That's great.
And I'm sure the assistant clerk will say, "What? We brought him here to bring her down, and now he's telling her he's going to meet with her."
Exactly.
But she just doesn't know we've been working on that for a while.
Perfect. You keep up the pressure.
We're
behind you. We're supporting.
All right, great show.
Oh, thanks, Mary.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye. And so let's welcome Kathy to the show. She's a foreclosure fighter and I believe has been involved in banking loans. Kathy, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the kind of thing that we talked about.
Okay. Well, in September of 2001, I took a job as a mortgage collector here in St. Louis for a third-party collection agency. And the name of the agency is National Asset Recovery Services. And after 2.5 years, I found out that they lied about the right to sell mortgage notes for Chase. But they never had it in their contract to it. This was after I took $80,000 from an investor, and once I took the money from her, they want me to hang up the phone on her because she's a rogue debt investor, come to find out.
Okay, now just a minute.
And,
just a minute.
There was a big lawsuit, and Chase had to pay out, like $170,000 plus these mortgage notes. And I'll call mortgageforeclosure.blogspot.com.
Now, just a minute. Just a minute.
Kat. Being about 5 or 6 accounts that they fought over, and this lady is such a rogue debt investor that once she sued Chase the first time, she went back again because apparently they were still servicing the account.
Oh, now, Kathy, Kathy, just a minute.
Investor. If you review some of the cases she's involved in, I've had people actually contact me where they had land deals with her, and she's getting sued for like $2 million just because of the way she handles business.
Now, Kathy, just a minute.
Needless to say, they never had it under contract to sell the mortgage notes the way they told me when I took my job.
Okay, just a minute. Just a minute. Kathy.
I found out the hard way.
Kathy, can you hear me?
After I lost my job, I tried to do right, but nothing was good enough for city because once I, I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me? Kathy, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I'm here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, now just a minute. You rattled this off so fast. Let me just back up a bit. Okay, you were hired for a company that sold
In September of 2001.
And what did that company do?
They're a large third-party debt collection agency.
Okay, so we just heard about debt collection from Renee. So you were working for a debt collection agency in 2001.
Yes, I took a job with them in September of 2001.
Okay, and so what happened?
They did collections for mortgages for Chase and City in one division.
Okay, and so they had you collecting for mortgages.
Yes.
Okay, and so then what happened? You found out that there was some lying going on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I said you found out they were lying?
They lied about the right to sell mortgage notes to me for 2.5 years. They never had it in their contract to do such.
Chase. Chase lied to you about what again? The right to sell the mortgages?
National Asset Recovery Services lied about the right to sell mortgage notes for Chase.
And they lied to you about that?
Yes, National Asset lied to me about it.
And so then go ahead, continue with the story. Can you well I don't understand. You got to help me. You were hired to do what? You were hired.
Collect the mortgages, or if I couldn't get the homeowners to just sell the mortgages to investors who inquired.
Okay, so you were like a subcontractor?
I was an actual employee of National Asset Services.
Okay, so you were involved in debt collection and discovered that Chase had lied to you about the authority to do what you were doing.
And there was a lawsuit that happened because of them lying about it.
And so then what was the upshot of that lawsuit? What was the upshot of that lawsuit? Kathy, can you hear me? This isn't working really well. Kathy, we're going to have to call you back. I'm sorry. We can't hear you very well. You're not responding. So I don't know what's wrong with the phone.
Your line keeps on breaking up.
Okay. All right. We'll have to call you back.
I don't know what's up, but I've got you now.
So what happened with the lawsuit?
Well, Chase got countersued because of this lady, buying these notes that they shouldn't have been selling. Come to find out, it was an assumed practice.
I'm sorry. The phone connection is just cutting off. It's not working.
I know, and I don't know why. It's really
I don't
annoying.
either. I don't either. We'll have you back on the show later. Thanks for trying, and don't worry, we'll get you back on.
No problem. Bye.
Okay, bye. Sorry, guys. The phone connection isn't working. Welcome to phone system. But nevertheless, the concept is, here we go. They're lying to everybody. So Chase is lying to the debt collectors. Does that sound familiar? That sounds like what Renee just talked about like 3 minutes ago about the banks selling debt that this uncollectible. They're lying to this person. They were doing that in 2001. So then there's this huge lawsuit because somebody bought the debt and then they discovered they didn't have the rights to it. So the whole thing is truly heart and soul about bank fraud. It is. And the banks will lie to anybody and everybody just for the money. I want to highlight here one more thing. Here's the connections for the people. Just a quick reminder, this is an update Friday, and we're going to have to go, and we'll be back next week. But let's remember, these are the people that support us. These are elected officials. They've either had federal jobs or past jobs and been supportive. They're current senators, House of Representatives. Let's connect with these people. From Catherine Austin Fitts, Sheila Bair, Alan Grayson, Elizabeth Warren, Marcy Kaptur, Sherrod Brown, Chuck Grassley, Dennis Kucinich, William K. Black, Neil Borofsky, others. I'm sure you can send me others that we can get on this list, and our local Democracy Now! Groups, people that really care about the people, about you and me. It's been a great update. We've got some really powerful stuff. We need to spend the weekend trying to incorporate that into our fight so that we can really bring this to the next level next week. Okay, guys, this is CJ signing off for this week. And we love our little song by the Bugger the Bankers. May we all do that. The best of luck to you.
When I was a lass, I was proud of me class, like my father and mother before me.
They taught me to fight for my civil rights,
but it's always the same old story.
the rich reign supreme while the poor can but dream.
Under Labour or Liberal or Tory. And I say, bugger the bankers and politicians, bugger the bureaucrats too, bugger the buggers who make up the rules, and if you're one of them, bugger you, and if you're one of them, bugger
The system is bent and the money's all spent. We're budgeted from every direction. The workers get taxed while the wealthy relax.
with nary a moment's reflection.
Where there's brass, there's muck.
And they don't give an arse, 'cause they're programmed against insurrection. And I say, bugger the bankers and politicians, bugger the bureaucrats too, bugger the buggers who make up the rules, and if you're one of them, bugger you, and if you're one of them, bugger you.
Now all you good people with passion to vent, don't give up the struggle for justice. But I've done my time on the protesters' line, and these days I show my dissent.
By loitering